I've been off Instagram for a year, and I want to share with you 15 things I've learned today. I'm willing to bet the last one will surprise you the most. It's actually surprised me the most, but nonetheless, I want to share what I've learned. If you're new here, my name is Melissa. Welcome to my channel. I love to make videos that share worthwhile ideas that help to improve your life, and that usually revolves around minimalism, goal setting, life habits, and stuff like that. So if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe. Okay, number one, I get to be genuinely surprised by things. I get to run into a friend and not know that she's pregnant until I see her, until she gets to share the news in person. I do find myself often prefacing with the excuse, I'm sorry, I've been off Instagram for so long, because I don't want people to think that I saw and knew and didn't bother to respond or comment or send them a text or anything. So I feel a little bit defensive, but I just kind of like to put that out there because it is unusual to be off of Instagram. But I get to enjoy the joy of new life experiences with people face to face. Okay, number two, probably not that surprising, but I am more present. In the last year, we've celebrated some amazing milestones. My daughter's growing up. We've hit some really huge career goals. We have traveled all over the country, and never once did I feel like I needed to take out my phone and think which is the best angle I should capture here, or think of a heartfelt caption that really captures what I was feeling in the moment. I got to just be fully present. And being fully present in those moments is what my daughter sees. And she's little. She is gonna be in kindergarten next year. And it is so important for me to model healthy tech habits for my daughter. And so she doesn't realize it yet, but she'll grow up with parents that are not always on their phone, that are never scrolling, that aren't, capturing, documenting, and posting things about her or our family moments. And I think that's really important. Maybe someday she'll grow up and realize that. That's kind of a gift we're giving her, but regardless, it's been nice to just be fully present in these moments. Okay, number three, nobody noticed. Nobody noticed. Never once have I had someone say, I haven't seen you posting, or what have you been up to? I haven't seen you on Instagram, or I noticed that you aren't liking my posts or commenting on my posts. It sounds really ridiculous when you say it out loud, doesn't it? And kind of really self-centered. So this just goes to show that although usually when we're creating Instagram posts or stories or reels or whatever, we think we're creating for other people, but at the end of the day, people really aren't thinking about you as much as you think that they are. And I just take that for what it is. We all grow up worried about judgment from other people and thinking about what other people are thinking about us. And the older you get, the more you realize people are just thinking about themselves. And that's not really meant to be a dig or anything negative. It just kind of is what it is. Now, granted, it's not like I was a big creator or had 1 million followers. If I had any sort of platform like that, of course, people would notice radio silence. My Instagram, for example, has always been friends and family primarily. So a small account in the range of 700 to 1,000 followers or so. And I never tried to intentionally create content for a following or to build any sort of platform. But I mean, maybe that makes this point even stronger, that I was posting for friends and family and still nobody really noticed that I disappeared. So that's not really meant to be negative or positive, it's just is what it is. So just kind of sit with that for a minute. Before I move on, if you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. That really supports my channel and it's totally free, and that lets me know that you like these kinds of videos and I will keep making more of them. Okay, moving on in my notes, because of course I had to write this down. Number 5,
just a heads up, from here on out, all the numbers I say are wrong.
I feel more comfortable in my home. For the first time in my adult life, I find myself inviting over people who I've just started to know. And I know this sounds silly, and of course we've had over people that we've known for years and years, but I think this sense of not being afraid of what other people think of me, or not having any sort of concept of is my home clean enough or stylish enough or whatever enough. There's just all of that is gone from my mind, and genuinely I just want to invite people over to hang out. Number 6, I'm learning how much I relied on Instagram for socialness. So I've been reading The Anxious Generation, this book by Jonathan Haidt, and it's fascinating to see and understand how social media hijacks the parts of our brain that are innately wired for human connection over the evolution of our species, and how practically overnight our brains are not getting the nuance of social connection, like eye contact and social cues. And to this point, I'm also learning how to keep real friendships alive outside of social media. So having to actually reach out and text somebody who I haven't seen or heard from in a really long time, or meet up for coffee, invite someone over, go for a walk. Those real human social connections that social media has served as sort of a proxy of for so long, but it's really not sufficient, and it doesn't satisfy our innate need for social human person-to-person connection. And kind of in a great way, there's less people for my brain to keep up with. So if you've ever heard of Dunbar's number, there's this idea that our brains can only really hold stable social relationships with 150 people. That's kind of based on the size of our neocortex. So this idea that like if you have 150 friends and family and acquaintances, that's kind of the maximum amount that your brain can hold. But think for a minute, how many accounts do you follow on Instagram? Probably over 500, probably over 1,000, maybe over 2,000. So think about all of the input your brain is getting and trying to keep up with that you're literally just not wired for. Okay, moving on to number 7. I've learned, and I'm not trying to make this sound negative or anything, it just is what it is. I've learned kind of who are my real friends and who are just acquaintances. If I haven't texted with someone, saw that person in person, or sent them a card, or anything that was a reach out outside of social media, they probably are just an acquaintance. And it's okay to have people who are just acquaintances that you don't have to keep up with. Number 8, I've had to learn what I really enjoy for downtime. So of course, many of us who are on Instagram are guilty of spending a lot of time throughout the week scrolling. And you do have all that time back when you're no longer filling it with absorbing and consuming all these different feeds and updates. So you kind of have to figure out how you want to fill your time. For me, I found really fun subreddits that I like to read, really great books that I've gotten to cross off my reading list this year, watching my favorite YouTubers, making YouTube videos, and just generally spending my time doing things that are more creative. Okay, number 9. Think about this for a minute. Imagine a time before social media existed. Maybe you picture yourself like in your parents' generation. If people wanted to grow up, start over, reinvent themselves for any reason, maybe they felt like they were a nerd in high school and they didn't fit in and they wanted to move somewhere new and kind of reinvent themselves, or maybe they had a history of decisions that they would rather move on from and they want to go somewhere and start new. Maybe they want to make new friends, make new habits, kick old habits, whatever. They had a real chance to start over and build their life with intention somewhere new, with new habits and new people and new relationships. Now think, how long have you had your Instagram account for? I had mine for 14 years. And kind of in our world, our Instagram accounts follow us around. Now, of course, you can change your handle, you can block people, you can archive old posts, but generally speaking, there's going to be a crew of people that are following your content through all of these years. And maybe it's not even the people, but it's this idea that you have this personal log or journal that is public, that has followed you around your whole life, that you can't shed. And maybe you would just like a fresh start, a clean slate. Okay, so in a similar vein, number 10, there's no pressure to make any sort of announcement for anything. I can just make changes, make decisions, do great things, travel, struggle, and I don't have to do it with an audience. This past year, we've taken some really amazing trips, but we've also had to sadly say goodbye to our dog, who sadly died when he came down with lymphoma and very, very rapidly declined. We also walked through a pregnancy loss this year. And these are all things that I got to just move through and grieve and experience without having to tie it up in some sort of bow and post it out to the world. And I don't have to formalize it or announce it to anybody. I don't know, does anyone else feel that weird pressure to kind of keep everyone updated about your life? But in reality, when I say it out loud, wow, it sounds so self-centered. Again, going back to point number one, like, people don't really notice as much as you think they do. I think what I'm trying to articulate here is you deserve some degree of privacy in your life. Take back your privacy. Number 11, I've learned that I can be more creative. I'm sure you can understand this if you're a creative person, that consuming blocks creativity. So you do have to put a boundary there and put space and kind of detoxify this consumption mentality of consuming all this content to make there be a fresh space and a fresh like canvas in your mind for creation. Okay. I'm just gonna skirt by this one really fast because I'm not trying to get all weird, but I feel like I've learned how Instagram, social media kind of is like the Matrix, and maybe just consider unplugging. I have a very good friend who used to work very high up in Meta, formerly Facebook, which owns Instagram. And I learned directly from this friend how much Instagram, Meta, etc. doesn't care about you. They don't care about your creator business. They don't care if your posts are being seen in the algorithm by your followers or if your posts are being served up to new followers. They don't even really care about your safety or your children's safety. They care about ad revenue dollars. And at the end of the day, that's kind of all that matters. You've seen The Social Dilemma, right? The documentary all about social media. So just to kind of reiterate, if you are not paying for the product, you are the product. Moving on, not trying to be all weird. So the next one, I've learned that I'm now able to impose a boundary around my brain, around my own thoughts, the stuff that's inside of my head. So without getting into anything political, it feels very much like our country is sort of upside down at the moment. So to take in all the news, all the rapid fire updates, all the political commentary and everyone's opinions about everything all the time, it's just futile. Our brains literally did not evolve to handle that. Our nervous systems are not equipped to deal with that. It's actually really unhealthy, like physiologically unhealthy for our bodies to be taking in that much consumption of information at any given time. As adults, we need to take back control of what we consume. I'm not force-fed opinions or beliefs that have been served up by the algorithm. It's up to me to seek and vet news sources to keep myself well informed. I have learned that I have no intention of going back. I would rather spend my time here building my YouTube channel, making content and videos that I think actually can help other people's lives in a positive way than contributing to the noise on Instagram. And finally, I think the most surprising one is that I'm surprised by how much I don't miss it. I truly thought that, after I decided to quit like long term, eventually I would want to re-download the app and kind of see what's going on with people and take a detox for a couple of months and then come back. And I truly don't miss it. Life without Instagram is wonderful. And so while I'm not expecting you to go ahead and, quit Instagram altogether, there's lots of different ways for you to put healthy boundaries between you and social media. Delete the app off your phone from Monday through Friday, or delete the app off your phone for the weekend so that you can be fully present with your family. Maybe you want to take the spring or the entire summer off of Instagram. Unfollow a ton of accounts. Get your feed down to 150 accounts. People who you know and creators who are actually putting out content that is helpful for your life, that's positive and uplifting, that is actually additive to you, because ultimately at the end of the day, you get to decide who has influence in your brain. Okay, I didn't mean for this to be a heavy video. I'm sorry if it felt heavy at times. If you're new here, I really encourage you to like and subscribe to stick around, and I will see you in my next video.